Hey guys, welcome back to Auxano. Today we are going to be speaking with Ariannah Chaochang. She is the owner of Chao Studio. She is a mother. She is a wife. But most of all, she's also a business owner. And her story on how she was able to overcome trauma and an unfortunate situation speaks volumes in this episode. So thank you guys for tuning in and thank you so much again for listening. It means a lot, guys. Take care.
Hey guys, welcome to Auxano. We are here with Ariannah Chaochang. As per usual, for our remote guests, we would usually just roll right along into the Let's Get Deep game. I wanted to be able to do that with guests as well in person. We are back with our traditional camera setup with two cameras, and Assembly Norfolk has been awesome in the fact that we are now in an official podcast studio. So we pray and hope that the audio quality is even better. So moving right along into it, we're going to play Let's Get Deep.
Okay.
So in both hands, and I'll show you the cards, in two hands that I have, there's the icebreaker cards. Actually, I'll even just let you, I'll
Okay.
slide them over like it's a poker game.
Okay, not too bad. Okay. What do I do?
Which one do you
Oh,
want to say? Yeah.
so I just pick a card and answer it?
Yeah.
Um,
And then just for the audience, if you could say the question too, what the
Okay.
question is. Yeah.
I'll do this one. Okay. So the question is, do you prefer to text, call, or video chat? It depends on my mood. So if I'm going to be honest, I text when I don't really want to talk to somebody.
Okay.
If I need to just directly get a message to them. Um, Personally, if I'm in a mood and I want to catch up with somebody and show my love, either a call or a video chat. It's more intimate. I don't like to text long paragraphs. I feel like it's just, I want somebody to hear my voice and hear the authenticity in it. Like
Mhm.
if I'm like, oh, hey, how are you? Or I love you, it comes off different versus seeing a text message. So, long story short, it depends on my mood. But overall, call or video chat for me.
Call or video chat. All
Mhm.
right. Next two cards.
Okay.
We're gonna move on to deep.
Huh. Okay, so that one I'm rusty at. So the question is, does your family have any cool heirlooms?
Mm.
Um, this is kind of difficult to answer. I feel like I don't want to say I come from a broken family, but I come from a family that came to America with nothing,
Mm.
and yeah, I guess I guess so. I guess it's the meaning in it, right? For me, it's the our traditional clothing. So my mom, she hand sewn like a lot of our traditional like baby hats and clothing that we would wear during like special ceremonies or like
Very cool.
weddings and stuff like that. So, and my dad, he is a very handy man. So when growing up, he would carve these spindles that my mom would use for her sewing. So, yeah, I guess you can call those heirlooms, right?
I would say.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's not gold or jewelry like a lot of people, but like to me, that those things mean a lot to me. So I still have, my baby hats that my mom made for me as a baby. So yeah, I guess.
I would agree. I love that. I think when most people say family, especially because we're Asian, like
Uh huh.
people think of like jade, or like
Right. Yeah.
some type of exotic jewelry.
Right.
But no, like I agree. Funny enough,
Uh huh.
you might laugh at me. In Filipino culture, they have. Dang it! I wish I looked it up before we got here,
Uh
but it's it's a coconut scraper that my grandfather would use. It's something that you literally like sit on a chair, and like
huh.
at the end of the chair, there's like a little blade.
Oh, I've seen
Yeah.
that. No, that's awesome.
So that is like one of the only things that I have left of my grandfather
I love that.
is just like the coconut scraper. So
I mean, it has a meaning behind it, right? It's like kind of slow down and hey, this is our tradition and how
Yeah.
we, do the coconuts and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and honestly, I miss my grandfather's coconut cakes, like coconut rice
Ooh,
cakes.
there you go.
Yeah.
Gives you a reason to pop it out, right, and make those coconut cakes.
You know, maybe I should.
You
Maybe I
should. Nostalgia. Yeah.
Yeah, but moving on to deeper.
Okay. That's kind of hard to choose from. Okay, let's see. Let's do this one. Okay. Name a wish that has come true for you.
That is deeper.
A lot of my wishes came true, but one wish in particular is my husband.
Oh my gosh, that's so
Oh,
sweet.
am I gonna get emotional? So a little backstory. My parents got divorced when I was very young. So, but in the time that I had my dad, I like to say I had him up until I was maybe 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old, because I kind of blocked that part out after he left. But when I did have my dad and he was in my life, he showered me with so much love, unconditional love, I like to say. He taught me what love was. Like he spoiled me. I mean, we didn't have a lot of money, but like he spoiled me in a sense like, I'm going to take you to go buy McDonald's. I'm going to take you to Walmart and we're going to have our little shopping session. Like he didn't have a lot, but he gave me everything in the world that I needed. And his kisses on the foreheads, his cuddles, and just his, reassuring me that I'm so loved and how precious I am. And so when my dad was no longer there and life got really difficult, I always held into my heart his love for me. And I said, one day I'm going to get out of this, situation of life and I'm going to have the best life. And if I have children or a husband, they're going to be so loved and I'm going to be so loved back. So I've always held that near and dear into my heart. And then when I've met my husband, I was like, something's different. He's so soft in the best way. He's so sweet. He on our first date, and he didn't have very much money either. We were both, like young and trying to figure it out. And I was actually a single mom at that time.
Wow.
So I was a single mom of my oldest daughter. And he was like, I want to take you out on a date. I was like, okay, So he showed up in a tie and a button up. And I was like, this is different. Like, if for those that don't know, I grew up born and raised in the hood. And so was he. So I was like a little bit shocked. And anyways, he was a gentleman. He opened the door for me. He was kind to me. He spoke to me in this, like, just in the nicest way. Very respectful and non-judgmental towards me, And he heard me out. He listened to me. And yeah, we had like the best date, and it was just like fireworks, and I was just like, is this being real? And one thing that he told me, he's like, I had it set that the next girl that I'm going to call my girlfriend is going to be the last. She's going to be my wife. And he asked me to be his girlfriend shortly after, and here we are now.
Was that the sign where, because he said that, you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm going to get married soon?
I didn't think anything of it at that time because I was just like, ha ha, like,
right.
But he really meant it, and he really stood by his words, because he had just kind of stopped talking to a girl, like they weren't official, but we were together at that time. We were just still dating, not official just yet, but she had texted him, and he told me already. He goes, "Oh, she's texting me," and I was like, "Oh, okay, like you can talk to her, it's fine." And he goes, "No, I'm telling her we're done." And so I was like, okay, so he's honest, he's upfront, and, like, this is so chill. Like, okay, I can do this. So.
How was that process? Like, was there, like, a falling in love, or it was, like, amicable? It felt right. Like, how was that for you?
Both.
Wow.
It was crazy. Like, our first date, we had Okay, so like I said, he didn't have very much money, right? So he went and bought us banh mi sandwiches. I don't know if you know.
Is he Vietnamese?
No, he's Laotian.
Oh, he's Lao?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's Lao.
Okay.
So it's his favorite sandwich, and so it's my favorite sandwich too. But he's like, okay, I got his banh mi sandwiches. Where do you want to go? And I was like, oh, I know this spot. So it's in Sacramento. I forgot the name of the city, but it's like where the rich people are. And they were still building homes out there, so there's like a hill, right? And my friend and I, we used to go out there and just go stare at the city lights. You could see the entire city. And I was like, oh yeah, I know a spot. So I called my friend. I was like, do you remember the directions? And so we went, and oh my gosh, like we saw the city lights, and it was just like we just had a talk. And shortly after that, like we went to downtown Sacramento, where it's like the kick it spot.
Yeah.
And I don't know what was happening exactly, but we were just walking along the water side because it's like the river, and they have like a walkway, and fireworks started shooting. And it was just like, are you kidding me right now? Like, okay, if this isn't meant to be, like, what is, right?
Right.
And I had gone through so much at that time that whole moment of just a simple date with this man made up for everything. I felt like I was defeated, like I was tired, and just he brought life into me. And it was just, yeah.
Wow.
That's it.
May all husbands and all boyfriends be able to have the honor of having their spouse or their significant other. What's his name?
Adrian.
Speak about Adrian the way that you do.
Oh, thank you.
That's amazing. That's really awesome. I wonder what he was thinking. Like,
He was cheesy. I was like, you're very cheesy. He was just like, he kept, when you're like, you are out of words and you just breathe a lot, like not in a creepy way, but just like just sighing, like, oh my God, like that, like, like just in disbelief, because I was doing the same thing. It's just like, it's kind of unbelievable, but it's fate, right?
yeah, that's so funny. I just imagine, like, I have kind of like this romantic comedy scene that I see where he's like, oh man, there are fireworks. I wonder if I'm putting fireworks in her heart though. Something like something like that, especially if he is kind of cheesy.
Oh my God, he's kind of like, yeah, he's like that.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Adrian, you go, bro. You go. Yeah, well, I'm super happy that you were able to experience that. A question, which is even funny, because this is literally like the icebreaker round. I don't even start the podcast yet. But how weird is it to give flowers on the first date? So 2 dates ago, the women that I saw on a date were telling me that, oh, like, this has never happened before. I was like, is that just not a thing? Like, do you guys just not do that nowadays?
I don't know. I guess it depends on your age range, right? Or like where your head is when it comes to first dates or something. I guess it comes down to your authentic self. Like, how do you show somebody that, hey, you're interested in them? Or what's your, I don't know. For me, it's not weird. I don't know. I guess call me old school, but it's like, I feel like if you go out of your way to show me that, hey, you admire me, or like, here's a nice suggestion, I'm going to be thankful for it. But I feel like maybe sometimes women, if they've gone through so much heartbreak, and maybe they didn't have the greatest relationship at home or something, like, and we'll talk further into that, but I guess it just really depends on where you are in life, and can you accept and receive a kind suggestion? Can you be thankful, or are you kind of scared and resistant because of where you are in life? So for me, it's not weird. For me, I think it's a sweet suggestion, and it's like, you spent your time and money to give me flowers, and you thought about which one to give me. I think that's very meaningful. So
and I usually I don't try to pick out just roses, because I think that the specificity of the flower, like a rose, is like, I think it's unyielding love, but I would try to go out of my way to look for, I think they're hydrangeas.
yes, those are pretty.
Yeah, like, I would give those because they're supposed to be a sign of respect. Like, you would give, so like, me giving the flowers, I suppose, is a sign of respect, that like my intentions are they are pure. Like they.
Yeah.
Well, I would it be pure if I'm like trying to marry you? I don't know.
Are we allowed to cuss on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't come off as a fuckboy? Just kidding.
Thank you. I appreciate
Just
it.
kidding.
I
I'm
appreciate
kidding. Okay. No. You're definitely not that. I'm kidding. But yeah, I think that's sweet and very thoughtful. So you give flowers on your dates?
Yeah, on first dates, I think giving flowers every day would be a little too much.
Yes.
In my opinion. But yeah, on
A little
first
costly.
dates- a little costly also, unless you go to Trader Joe's.
Right. There you go. I like Trader Joe's. But
Trader Joe's is awesome.
no, I think that's a sweet suggestion, and you have meaning behind it. So
Yeah, I try. But moving away from Beau's love life and love life in general, I ask this question to every single guest.
mm-hmm.
It is, when you were a child,
Mm-hmm.
what did you want to be?
What did I want to be? I don't know if I'm gonna get emotional or not, but I spent most of my childhood surviving, and I guess I would always dream that I would be a hero one day. I felt like I didn't have a hero in my life at the time that I needed, and I'm thankful for that. That didn't come until later, but I used to dream that I wanted to save the world. I wanted to impact the world. I wanted to just save somebody, because I feel like that was a reflection of my cry for help. Like, I was crying for help and for somebody to see me for the longest time when I was a child. And yeah, so that was my dream. I wanted to be a hero.
What life advice would you give that child now?
I visit her a lot. Like, I was visiting her actually on the way here. So the advice that I love to give to my inner child is it's going to work out. You're going to have a beautiful life. You're going to be okay. And that your imagination will bring you places that you couldn't imagine. And till this day, it's still happening. Like, you'll figure it out. That's the advice. Like, it's going to work out.
Circling back to when you were saying you had to survive most of the time, you grew up in the Bay Area?
Sacramento. So not too far from the Bay Area.
Gotcha. So I'm from National City, San Diego. So we're both from Cali, which is super dope. How rough was it? Was there just like a lot of gang violence that you had to?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. So my parents came here to the America. I don't remember exactly because they don't talk about that time. But all I know is that they migrated from Laos when the communist thing was happening there. They sought refuge here in America. And missionaries housed them and sponsored them. So it was difficult for my parents. And I do speak my truth, and there's a lot of pain in it, but it comes from a very loving and understanding place. I love my parents regardless of how life was. I give them grace and a ton of understanding now. But they came here with nothing, literally nothing except their family. And settling in America with nothing and then having 6 children together. And my dad, he did learn English. He went to college and everything, so he's an educated man. My mom, unfortunately, still to this day speaks very broken English, cannot read, hardly can write. But she speaks our language, our native language, a lot. And it was just very difficult. She relied on my dad a lot for all of the paperworks. You know, like, she didn't even go to the doctors when she was pregnant until last minute when she was giving birth because, you know, well,
wow.
And this is where you have to understand back home is all she knew. Yeah. Our culture, which is we didn't have running water or electricity. We farmed our own foods. We raised our own animals. We were self-sufficient. We were mountain people, you know? And I guess, yeah, there's a lot of people nowadays go seek that type of life to find peace because of where we are now today in life. But that is how we lived. And so it was difficult for her to kind of transition into this type of lifestyle, the typical American dream. And my dad, he is all about typical American dream, like get the house, get the children, get the car, like provide. And so they just didn't align in that way, which I understand. But so with my mom, she struggled a lot with that. She did try to find jobs. It was difficult for her because nobody wanted to hire her. And if she did get hired, it was in a factory, hard labor, and she had kids to raise. But sorry, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. It's a lot to revisit, but I like to revisit it anyways. Anyways, long story short, when my dad had left, and when I say leave, they divorced because it's just, like I said, they were on different pages. Like my dad wanted to give us a better life. And my mom, unfortunately, because she already learned the roads of Sacramento, California, she already had a community, a million people. She went to church every Sunday. She gardened in a place that she knew. Like she was able to make money that way and pay her dues in that manner. So because of comfort for her, she was too afraid to leave and search for something better. So she wasn't able to get beyond the capacity of, I already know everything here. Why would I leave it? For my dad, he was like, this is a horrible place to raise children. It's dangerous. We're struggling. There's no opportunities here. So two different perspectives, right? And so my dad, he actually moved to North Carolina where my uncle and aunts were, and they have restaurant businesses out there. So he was working there for a bit, and he was actually able to work for the company that he's been with for a long time because he did welding out there. And he tried to move my siblings and my mom out there. My mom hated it. Like I said, she felt like she didn't belong. She didn't know the streets. She didn't have her safe haven, her comfort. And not knowing much English. And so she took all of us kids and moved back to California. And of course we were young, so we had to follow our mom, right? And my dad was heartbroken and he was angry. He was just like, I'm just trying to do the best I can, but my wife doesn't want to follow me, And I don't really know too much of what was going on because I know there was a lot of other issues going on, but it just was not healthy for children in general. But we moved back to Sacramento, California, and that was where I spent most of my childhood. Like I said, with not my dad no longer there, my protector. And my mom, you can only imagine, she barely even went to the doctors when she was about to give birth. So how would she have resources for mental health? She suffered from severe depression. She disconnected from herself. She was just in survival mode. And it was difficult because when my dad had left, my siblings, my older siblings, I'm the second to the last youngest of six children. Eventually, they gave up because it was too much of a burden. It all fell on them. The response, being responsible for the entire family. They eventually went their ways, and in the end, it was pretty much me. I had to do the paperwork. And I was a kid. I had to do, and we were on welfare. Government assistance. And, my mom, she raised us very, like, our culture. So you can imagine, like, I'm in America, but I'm eating foods that my mom, grew with her hands, or, like, I'm eating a lot of traditional food where we don't go to I've never been to the mall up until I was in high school. I didn't get new clothes. I didn't get new shoes. I got hand-me-downs. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying I was in a bubble, and my mom's bubble. So I had I didn't know what it was like to go out and socialize, to go to the movies, to do this or that. I only remember what my dad provided for me, which was he celebrated 4th of July, and he took me to McDonald's and Walmart. And that was what I remember. And my mom didn't do any of that with me. Like I said, she was very shut off with her emotions. And I hate to say it, but I've never received my mom's love, ever. A lot of people say they remember their mom hugging them or telling them that, she loves them. I never got that. I never got the motherly nurture love. And I don't say that to like be upset or anything, but it's just that's my reality, and I learned to accept it to be able to move on. But she just didn't have the mental capacity to love me in the way that I deserved and that I needed. Um, and it was difficult. And so we were on welfare. I didn't receive that nurturing love and care from my mom. Um, and my dad was absent. And gangs, that was a huge thing at that time in my childhood. I even witnessed a murder when I was 9. We were sleeping and all you hear is just gunshots. And then next thing you know, my brother is dragging in his friend's body, and I'm 9 years old sitting there seeing blood everywhere and like what is going on. And it and the crazy thing that now that I look back on, if a child was to go through that, we would seek professional help, right? Like go to counseling or therapy. I didn't get that. I didn't even have a conversation or anything like that. It was pretty much, oh, that happened. Like it was normal. And it was always dangerous. I got bullied throughout elementary, middle school, and high school, unfortunately, severely. When I say like every day I would go, I would get picked on, or like I would get tripped. I would be called names. And I eventually slowly started to shut down. My dad had left. My mom doesn't show me love. Like I was getting bullied every day. I was a depressed child. And I stopped playing on the playground. I stopped singing. I stopped dancing. I stopped playing. Like every innocent part of me just slowly got swept away. I tucked it away. And then I had to step into this role of I got to take care of my mom. I'm going to take care of my mom. And it wasn't like I had a choice. It was like, can you read this for me? You need to go fill this out. You need to go with me to the office and tell them that we need the money. Or I had to call the phone bill company, and like all of that fell on me naturally. And it was difficult. What was the question again?
Yeah, I was just asking how you were talking about like survival off of how your childhood, and you went really in depth.
Yeah.
Like and I love it. Like I'm all for it. Actually, do you mind if I interject?
Yeah.
And it's going to be the segue of the question that I ask, because once I fulfilled that mission, once I bought my parents a house to make sure that they were never homeless or never in transient housing, how did you cultivate compassion for that situation?
For which situation? Like
After the power dynamic switch to where like she's supposed to be your mom, but you're the one taking care of her. How did you cultivate compassion? How did your inner child heal from that?
Well, my inner child is still healing. There's still a lot of work to be done. We're never fully healed or moved on for something traumatic. But I feel like we can get to a better place and be in a better place. It's just a lot of reassuring. So it wasn't until one day I woke up and I'm already, how many kids in? 3 kids in. I was pregnant with my 3rd child, my son. And I woke up one day and I go, what am I doing? I really sat down and I thought, why do I feel like this every day still? I've got everything. I've got my children. I got my husband. I got the home. I got the career. I've got everything that I worked my ass off for. Why do I still feel, in a sense, the same emotionally? Why do I feel disconnected? And that was the start of my healing journey. I was so fed up. I was like, I worked so hard. Why is it not here yet? Why do I not feel where I said I was going to be? You know, I'm still young, but I've accomplished all of these things and it doesn't mean anything at this point. I feel so disconnected emotionally. And that was when I feel like the doors opened. It was a moment of revelation. It was like me just asking that hard question that I didn't need to ask myself. I could have kept going, right? The same pace. But the moment I stopped myself and I asked that question, I started, like I said, I'm a very spiritual person today. Everything like starting to fall into place. I had to get uncomfortable real quick. Spiritual people began to come my way. And so a little backstory to that, originally my people are shamans. So I don't know if you're familiar. They practice a lot of spirituality, of, you know, Mother Nature and tapping into the universe. And long story short, but so spiritual people started coming into my life, and they actually helped me a lot. They're like, I see so much pain that you're carrying, and I know you want to do better. And they gave me like tips on what I needed to do to embark on this healing journey, and they even did prayers for me. And so slowly I began to heal a lot of pain that I carried with me my entire life. And the one thing that I was really focusing on and keep coming back to is the message of love. So I wasn't shown that example from my mom, but I was shown that example from my dad. And the more I find that I learn to love from my heart and practice kindness, even if it doesn't connect sometimes, it brings so much light into my life and other people's lives. And it heals in a way that I can't describe. And the one thing when I was doing the inner work, I kept visiting my mom. Even till this day, I think about her every day. I think about her and I send my love to her. And I used to be so angry with her because, in a sense, there was abuse. I was, verbally and emotionally and physically abused. And I don't want to say particular who was abusing me, but it was like I was getting beat up almost every day at home. And I was a skinny little girl. Not only was I getting bullied at school, and I got into fights that I didn't volunteer for. They were, I
never asked for this.
Yeah, I never did. And it was just like, okay, well, I guess we're going to fight then. But I hated all of it. And then I'll go home and I'll get my ass beat. And then I'll be, get told, like, all the frustration that everybody carried would be put on me. Like, oh, you're stupid, you're slow, why are you failing school? Or, and I was very angry. I used to be so angry. And now that I've been given all of these people that come into my life, that has helped me and shown me compassion, kindness, and love and patience, and told me how much I mean to them and how much I mean to the world, that made up for all of it. That opened my heart back up. And so that's where my compassion comes from, is that I like to say the angels that came my way eventually, that helped me remember, who I am. Like, everything that I've gone through, my heart is still authentic. My heart is still capable of love. I am capable of compassion, even when I wasn't given that at one point in my life. Like, I can give it now. So.
I know it's like a super general question that people might ask, but I ask this with the full intention of what it means to you. What is love?
What is love?
What is love?
So when I think of love, I think of unconditional love. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with showing unconditional love, even to a stranger. Unconditional love is something you feel in the heart, so you don't have to think about it. You just do it because that's just who you are. Like, you choose to be love, right? Like, you choose to be a light in the world, and that's what I want to be. I want to be my best, and some days I have my bad days, but, you know, when I see somebody, I don't know what they're going through. You know, I can show them some love. I can say, hey, how are you? Oh, what do you like to do? You know, can you tell me more about it? What is your goals in life? How are you feeling now? You know? And, well, I think you're amazing, you know? And I think you can do it. Why not just try? Even if you failed, do it again. You know, you'll figure it out. You know, and that to me is unconditional love. It's the smallest little things that truly speaks volumes. And, yeah, like for my children, they don't ask very much from me. All they ask is cuddles. Mom, this is my day. Mom, can you help me with this? You know, or thank you, Mom, for dinner. Like, that's love. That's unconditional love. We don't have to think about it. It's not hard. It's not difficult. You just do it and you feel it. So.
There was a man I met in the military, very high ambitioned man, but I think the way he speaks about his kids, he was extremely passionate about who they were.
Mm-hmm.
And before I give you my compliment, I actually want to give you the quote that he told me, and I don't think I'll butcher it, I might, but it was, to the world you might be one person, but to one person you might be the world. And I think that's a Dr. Seuss quote, I'm not sure.
It sounds like it could be.
Yeah, but I find that listening to your story,
Mm-hmm.
there is no one more deserving of
Thank you.
having their child, you know, give them that love. That yeah, like to the world you might be just another Asian girl walking down the street,
Right.
but to one person that has nurtured them, that has given them guidance, that you'd be their world. So I think that is very fitting how it kind of comes, I don't want to say full circle, because I don't think any child should have to go through any trauma,
Mm-hmm.
especially since, well, the whole premise of having children is to make sure that you grow into outstanding individuals, but not everybody, unfortunately, gets that
Right.
opportunity.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. I
absolutely.
receive it, and I'm so thankful for you right now. So.
I try. I think I do that also in a way because life is so short that if you leave words unsaid,
Mm-hmm.
you might regret it. Which is, in reality, one of the biggest reasons that I started the podcast.
Yeah.
Why I started this entire journey. You never know. You never know who walks into your life, who makes it better, and you never know who you learn from. And I actually wanted to turn the conversation towards what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to ask you, what were the origins of Chao Studio?
So, through my healing journey, like I said, that revelation that I had one day, I had no idea I was going to be a ceramic artist. No freaking clue. It just happened. But I remember that time when I began to question my life, and I was 3 kids deep in. I turned to my husband and I said, what are we doing with ourselves? What do you want to do in life? What have you wanted to do in life, right? He was like, I don't know. Like, he is such a selfless man. It's annoying sometimes. I was just like, stop it. You know, because we had an agreement when we had just started dating, and I was, like I said, I was a single mom previous to him coming into our life. He knew that I wanted to have a career. And he was a shift lead at KFC at that time. And so we had moved into a little dinky little apartment, 1-bedroom apartment, Rent was $500. But that was a lot to us because we were broke at that time, and we had a child to feed. But we had an agreement at that time that he was going to be the main provider, and I was still going to help out with what I can financially while I go to school full time to get a career that would pay much more. And we did that. I went to school. I went for medical assisting at first. That didn't work out. I went back to school, did pharmacy technician, got an amazing job. That was my first major career because prior to that, I was making $7 an hour at a warehouse. And I had worked at Walmart, you name it. Anyways, so he supported me with my career first. And the agreement was that next it was going to be his chance to focus on his. But then next thing you know, we have 3 kids. And then he eventually climbed up the ladder with, his jobs and got a better job. We both got decent jobs, right? That was able to pay the bills. And up until that point, I was like, okay, well, you never really got to do what you wanted to do. What do you want to do? And he's like, well, I've always wanted a heroic job. And that's funny because back to what I wanted to be, right? And I go, well, what is that? He goes, I wanted to join the military, but my mom said no. And I was like, okay, well, do you want to do it? Because I don't care if you join now. Is your age too late? Because he was 29, I think, when we were talking about this. And he was like, well, I don't know. Like I said, he gives so much, but he forgets to see himself sometimes. And at that moment, I was like, you're going to do it this time. Whatever you want to do, I'm down for it, right? And so he said he wanted to join the military. I was like, okay, well, what do we need to do? And he went to the recruiter's office. He took the test, didn't do good. Went again, he studied. And mind you, we had 2 kids and I was pregnant. But it was difficult, but he studied and he was able to get a position as an IT. So after that, I did not hesitate. I said, we're selling the house. Well, at the time, I was able to take my job because the pandemic had hit. Everybody was teleworking. I didn't tell them that I left. I was leaving the state. And we... Sorry, I keep losing my train of thought. What was the question again?
Oh, yeah, it was actually, I'm kind of losing it too. Let's go back. So, I was asking you... Wow, I forgot to. I was so caught up in the story.
This is my life every day.
Yeah. You have a really good way of storytelling. So I was just the entire
I'm sorry,
time,
I get carried away.
It's okay.
What was the dang question?
Yeah, what was I? What did I ask originally?
How did it get into Chao Studio? How did that happen?
Yeah.
Okay.
The most
there we go.
Question
There we go. I remember now. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Long story short, I'm gonna cut it short. We sold everything, and he joined the military, and he went to boot camp for 3 months, and so I relocated with my dad in North Carolina, and then he went to Florida for A&C school. Mm-hmm. I went out there with him, took the kids because we missed him, so we were there for 6 months. Got a little apartment, enjoyed the beach, and then he got his first station duty orders to Norfolk. And I don't know, I'm a go-getter person. So I always figure things out and I always trust that it's going to work out. So I was like, oh, there's a VA loan. We could use that, So I found a realtor around this area and I was like, hey, can you get us a house? And he was like, yeah. And then so he was FaceTiming properties with us. And the first house he went to, I said, that's the one. That's going to be our house. And the market was so hot. It was hot. Everybody was competing. But, yeah, anyways, he, sight unseen, he got us the house. First offer, didn't even ask over. And we got our home. And then we moved here. When we moved here, I went through a depressed state. because
Because he wasn't here, or
no, he was here. It was because I felt like I was shedding a part of me, an identity that I had known for so long. I was in a new place. I have my children with me. I was a mom and a wife. And then next thing is, who the hell am I? You know, my career, I just left my career. I was on my way to a promotion. I was going to be a tax auditor. I was going to make bank. I was going to be good. I had a good retirement fund. I work for the state of California. And I lost part of myself. I was like, oh my God, I worked so hard for it, you know. But right now, I really want to focus on my husband and give him this opportunity because he supported me. But then again, it's like I gave up a part of myself. Like, I'm just a stay-at-home mom at this point, you know. Like, it was a hard pill to swallow. And my husband, here he is, bless his soul, he was just like, I don't want you to work. I want to provide for you. I want to give you everything. I go, but I've never been like, I've always worked. I've always had my own money. I've always, you know, been a go-getter. Like, I don't want to just be at home and raising the kids and being your wife. Like, I'm somebody too, you know? And so, I was just like, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this time and I'm going to enjoy life. I'm going to go with the flow and I'm going to freaking trust the process. It's going to work out. And I was like, what do I want to do? Like, what is something that I've always dreamt that I was going to do, but never had the opportunity because I was too busy with work or school or family. And I revisited my inner child a lot. And one thing that would come up where I remember pure joy in the midst of the chaos was, like I said, my mom is like a gardener. She has a green thumb. So, and I didn't have toys. We didn't have a lot of money. So my playground and my toys was the backyard. The chickens that we had and the dirt that we had. I played with dirt a lot, and it was the best memory. I would make these mud pies where I put water and I'll shape it. I remember this one time I made 2 smiley faces, like the perfect circle, and I took my finger and I went boop, boop, with the 2 eyes and the smile. And I said, this is the best thing ever. And I remember I let it sun dry. I was like, I'm going to go gift this to my teacher. But then I ended up not doing it. I was like, she might think this is weird. But I was so happy in that moment that I made these 2 smiley face pies out of mud. And I was like, I'm going to do pottery. I want to play with mud again. You know, like, who knows? So I signed up for a 6-week class. Oh my goodness. When I touched that damn clay, it was game over. Something clicked. I was like, I'm hooked. I love this. I love it so freaking much. Like, I didn't make anything at first. Like, it was just me learning the clay. But I wasn't frustrated. And I would look all around me. Everybody's like sighing and frustrated. Like, why can't I make that? And here I am, zen and just chill. And I'm just like, I'll try again. You know, and since then, I've been doing clay almost every day. And this was just last year in April that I took this class. So I eventually was like, I want to do this. I talked to my husband. I was like, I love this. He goes, whatever you want to do, do it. You know, I'm here to support you. And so I actually took my own money, and I was not happy at the studio that I was with. I feel like I just wasn't respected in a way. So I was like, it pushed me, but that happened for a reason. Like I said, nothing happens by coincidence. Pushed me to go further with this. So I invested in a kiln, which is not cheap, in a pottery wheel, and I started off in my backyard patio with no covering. So I was in the sun every day. I was hand washing with the hose, and I had my own little setup. And then anyways, long story short, I eventually converted our garage into a studio. It's a small little humble little space, but that's my safe haven. That's my purpose. And sorry, I know that's how Chao Studio happened.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. There's actually I think Sir Francis Drake says it. It's called Sic Parvis Magna, greatest from small beginnings. And the only reason I know that is because it comes from a video game, but the quote itself just has so much power.
Yes.
You say humble abode and small beginnings, but you're like an art festival winner already, aren't you?
So I didn't win. It was a jury show. I wish I would have won, but it's okay.
Gotcha.
There's always next year. I feel like my style, and like I said, I trust in the process. I feel like I love the East Coast, but my style has a West Coast flair to it. And right now is, I like to say, every day is just the beginning of something new. So long story short, I did small markets, local markets for an entire year here. Whatever market there was, I signed up. And then eventually my name got out, and now like markets are messaging me like, would you like to participate? I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I would go, I would set up, and I would talk to people. I would connect with people. I would show them who I was. I connected with them, and it was a beautiful freaking experience for an entire year. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think this is the purpose of, this plays a huge purpose in why I'm here. And so it wasn't until recently where I got really tired of doing weekend markets. And I was like, okay, I think I'm ready for the next step. Let's take it up a notch. So I started making bigger art pieces that spoke to my soul. And I applied for festivals for the first time, and I got approved to 2 of them, 2 huge ones. And like I said, I like to say I still live in a bubble. I'm always curious. I'm always learning. But I had no idea how huge these festivals were until people were like, oh, you got accepted? And I was just like, yeah, I did. I didn't know. And then I was like, oh, okay, well, awesome, right? So I did the Hermitage, and then I just did the Stockley, which is a 2-day festival. Wow. I was a hot mess. I didn't have the proper weights. But like I said, angels come my way. I had the 2 sweetest men literally stake down my tent for me and give me their weights. But anyways, it was a beautiful experience to have my actual huge art pieces displayed. I got so many wonderful feedback and appreciation. And I'm getting my name out there. I'm working with people that I thought I never would work with. I get a lot of custom orders, and I am just super grateful right now.
Yeah, I mean, it from the hood of Sacramento,
right,
to art festivals, and to people ordering custom things from you, things that you create with your hands. When in the past, a lot of problems, perhaps, might have been physical. You're creating something beautiful. You're creating something out of really nothing. Like I imagine clay as like it's malleable. Yeah. But you're able to create art with something that is technically just a blob until it isn't. Now that you're in this phase of your life, what do you feel like your purpose is now?
First, thank you for your kind words. And what was your question again? Oh
no, it's okay. What do you feel like your purpose is now? Is it just to continue with Chao Studio?
My purpose right now, I feel, is still the same. I feel like it's still love. To give love and light into the world through now pottery, through being a ceramic artist, creating my pieces that come from a very emotional place. It's hard to put into words. It's like, it's just the thing that is just what I'm supposed to do. Like, it's natural for me to create a piece now. It's like, everything I make, I feel like I go through this like trance. It's like, I don't even think about it when I'm making it. I'm just doing it. Like, it just fits in my soul. And I think about life when I'm doing it. I think about how far I've come. I reflect on like anything that, I need to reflect on. And clay is teaching me a lot about life too. And when people come to me, it's like, oh, how do you, make this or that? Or it's like, or how have you come this far? And I'm like, clay has a lot to teach people. It teaches you patience. It teaches you to let go. It teaches you to trust. It teaches you to play. It teaches you to imagine and be with your inner child that a lot of us forget to do. You know, like you're basically playing with mud. You're playing with dirt, right? But you get to create this beautiful piece that lasts forever. But I feel like that's my purpose, is just continue to spread love and light and kindness everywhere.
Does your company have a tagline?
No.
What?
What do you mean by tagline?
So, like, my company, with Deseo Media Company,
Uh-huh.
the company tagline is where authenticity inspires hope and
like
cultivates community, which is realistically what the podcast and what I hope the company can do in the future is just to cultivate community and
Right.
inspire,
And you're doing that?
Inspire hope.
Yep.
Thank you. What would yours be? Like, would it be? Like,
I don't know.
clay is play, or like the clay can teach.
I like that. I'm going to sit on that, and you just sparked something. So
The clay can. Okay.
there you go. And credits to you.
I appreciate it. Thank you. What is the non-glamorous side of being an artist?
The non-glamorous side. The starting off financially. You know, like, you can't expect to have people buy your stuff right away. You can't. And the thing about me is that I've been working since I was a child. I've done farm work. Everything. And I feel like that has prepared me up until this point of owning my own business. Have the vision, have the trust, and stay motivated. It's all about perspective. But the most difficult part, like I said, is the financial part. In the beginning, you don't know if it's going to pour in enough revenue to be where you want to be financially. Fortunately enough, my husband supports me through this journey, right? So we already own a home. We're set. We're good. But not everybody has that reality, right? That start. So, but for me, the financial part was the difficult part, because I invested a lot into my studio space, but I just had this trust and this knowing that it was going to work out. And it is working out. It is working out. And every time somebody purchased even just a mug or now one of my art pieces, I always express gratitude to the person and to I don't know, like I said, I'm spiritual, like to whoever that's out there that's watching over me, the higher power or whatever. I always express gratitude, let's say to the universe, for bringing just this one person to purchase my mug that will pay my bills or feed my family, And every time I've done that, abundance just keeps pouring my way, and just having that trust. But
I feel the same way, that like for the first episode of the podcast, I would be happy if it affected one person, and it was definitely more than one. And I was like, this is a phenomenal start already, because my biggest goal was to make sure that I could inspire one person. If I inspired one person out of this whole endeavor, then I would be successful, and I could say I've done my part.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
So where does it stem from when you say, because I hear the keywords inspire and community, and just, I feel like making somebody feel seen, acknowledged. That's what I'm getting. Where does that stem from for you?
It stems from a lot of things, but I attribute it to one of my best friends. His name is Hanson King. He passed away when we were both 18. Walking around the streets of LA. Luckily, it didn't have anything to do with like gun violence. Still passed away at 18, very young. because we're Asian, I think we could use the premise of food. Oftentimes, and at the time we were also very poor, he would consistently say, "Hey, bro, like let's go get Korean barbecue on me. Like let me pay for this." But of course, we would never do it. It was just a dream. And at the time, especially because I was working at a pho house for like $30 a day, I was working under the table for $30 a day. There were a lot of unsaid words that I wish I could tell him. And I think maybe that this podcast could be a love letter to the people that I might have inspired the same way that he continues to inspire me. And I think that the only true reward, at least in my personal opinion, that we could have before we die is to inspire others.
Yeah.
In a weird way that I think Shakespeare might talk about it, where he says like, "Oh, like you're hotter than a summer's day." Technically, the woman that he wrote that poem about is immortal because she herself is still being talked about because of a poem that this poet wrote a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
But I actually want to attribute it to the word sonder. The word sonder, coined by John Koenig. He's the author of the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. Sonder means that everybody else you see is the main character of their own story. In my opinion, just like how I've met you recently, your family is a supporting cast, and you're the main character. You're your own hero. I mean, especially now.
Yeah.
For me, it's enough to know that I was like a lamppost of light on the dark side of the street, or maybe a rest stop that's waiting for the bus.
Yeah.
If it meant that I was there and I could give a person comfort, if I could give you comfort in this time, or give some advice or some type of candor that maybe increases their volition and how they live their life.
That's beautiful. Sorry, rest in peace to your friend. And I think it's beautiful how he's left an impact on your life, and now you're touching other people's lives. You know, it's the effect of just somebody's love and presence, how it can impact a dream or purpose is amazing to me. So
yeah, and it's in the same way that you are creating your art. I feel I'm not very talented at a lot of things. Personally, I failed consistently to get to anywhere. Even when I was real estate investing, it was 60, 70 rejections of my realtor saying, like, this is a dumb idea, until I found the one that was an amazing return on investment.
yeah.
My coaches for Muay Thai or any martial art that I've ever done have consistently told me that you're pretty bad, but it's because you stuck with something that you were able to get somewhere. When it even comes to instrument playing, because I'm not a musician, but I can play a multitude of different instruments like the piano, guitar, etc. But I feel like I've always had the ability to try to speak with people and just learn from their perspective. I think I've always, as are you, I've always been the person to try to be very curious. Not try even. It's being effortless on being curious. And because of curiosity leads to conversation. And I think conversation in itself can be an art. But I also think that conversation in itself is powerful, as most conversations start with a hello, and oftentimes most conversations end with very powerful moving events, whether it be...
Totally agree. Conversations is what has taught me is my best teacher.
Yeah.
And to backtrack on what you're saying, how you're saying you weren't good at a lot of things, is it that, or is the perspective all of that didn't work out because that wasn't what you're meant to do?
I think Actually, I even lie. I remember being the shy kid, the shy, really fat Asian kid at the time. Actually, growing up, and thinking to myself that one day I think I'd like to be able to talk to people the way that others who have inspired me have spoken to me. And I think just over time, it was like I would be the guy that would ask a random like father on the side of the street, like that's playing catch with this kid, like, what life advice do you have for me? Very weird, very odd.
Well, it's not weird.
I think when you're 12, like that's not your focus, you know. But it was mine.
Right.
It was just my curiosity of.
That's crazy because I was the same exact way, and I still am. I still ask the people who say, "Why do you ask such outrageous questions?" I go, "Am I asking the outrageous questions, or are you not asking enough questions?"
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah, I agree.
I like to think of everything. Perspective is so powerful. The words are powerful as well. Like the words that we speak about ourselves and others, it does eventually manifest into reality, you know? And I don't think you're horrible at anything. I think you're brave and adventurous for even trying those things that were out of your comfort zone. And I'm sure you learned a lot of lessons in those things. You may not have been the greatest, right? But you did it, you know, and you should give yourself credit for that. And I'm sorry that, you know, whoever that was your teacher or like didn't encourage you or see you for even just trying. I think it's amazing that you did those things, even if you weren't the greatest, like I said. But you've now found your purpose, which is right here, right now. Like you're doing it. And I think it's amazing. And you trusted yourself to be able to get this far. But yeah, perspective and words are so powerful. I like to try every day to practice that. So perspective, how can I see this in a better way? Like, is it happening to me or for me?
Right.
Which one do I choose?
Yeah.
And the words I speak, is it kind to myself? Is it kind to the person I'm speaking to? You know? And it's not like I'm lying to myself. I'm not. I choose to see good. I choose to see the better side of things, you know? And my life has been beautiful since I've done that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I would just disagree a little slightly with you on the fact that I was actually proud that a lot of these people would tell me I was bad, because I would look at it as qualitative knowledge that, okay, like I can improve.
Yeah.
So I've always had the inclination to move towards what I'm bad at, and then decide if this is worth putting 3 times, 4 times the effort to get better at. It's for the same example that I can like do my oil change and stuff and change a tire on a car.
Yeah.
Please don't tell me to ask, like, please don't ask me to change an engine, you know, like things like that. And yeah, you know, like but I also admire sorry, I'm like kind of like pivoting around.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. I admire the words of affirmation, because that's one thing that for my inner child as well, that I've been telling myself is I've actually been telling the little child that you're worthy. Like that's a big one that I've been reaffirming, is you're worthy. And often that's how I've measured a lot of life, is when I first, even starting this media company, you know, my creative director is sitting right there. You know, at a point in my life, I looked in the mirror. I said, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve it. I don't deserve any of the things are going to come crashing down. Like things are going to go really bad.
Yeah.
And it's the affirmations that, you know, that the angels our way come on the road and that we meet. But also having the courage to even tell myself that, like you can do it.
Yeah.
Just remember that you should also do the work to be worthy of it, to continually be worthy of it. And that's the way that I've been measuring my progress, my life.
Thank you for disagreeing with me.
No worries.
No, I appreciate it. I it's the nurturing side of me. That's like, I want you to know how worthy you are. But no, thank you for disagreeing with me. I see what you're saying. and that makes a whole lot of sense. It is great to receive positive criticism in the things that we do sometimes, and it's not always rainbows and sunshine, but like I said, I just make it my mission to make sure that people know that, you know, they are valuable, that they are worthy, and that, you know, just to try to see the positive in every situation, even when it's difficult. But I see your perspective, and I respect that.
Oh, and I appreciate the words of affirmation. You know, it's something that I've been trying to also, because I generally find myself a very agreeable person.
Mm-hmm.
But even when it comes to smaller things, I'd be like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, yeah, you're right. But I think as I get older, if there's something that, and it's not like we had like a point of contention where I was like, you're wrong, Ariannah. Like that's not how it is. I've realized now that I've kind of just been living my life with the anvil of discipline. Mm-hmm. And I think it takes a discipline to know when, like, dang, you're bad at this. And let me get better at this with time and repetition. Yeah. What are the beautiful sides of your business? Since we talked about the cons or the non-glamorous side, what are some of the most beautiful things that have come your way?
First, the interactions, the connections. You know, I get to talk to people from all ranges of ages. From young to older, and it is really refreshing because the world is so fast nowadays, and I'm a mom and a wife, so like I find myself some days I don't get to socialize a lot and like feel like I'm my individual self, if that makes sense. Not that I'm not with my family, but like it gives me a chance to learn still, because there's so much to learn in the world just by talking and connecting. And so that's one of the beautiful sides of it. The other beautiful side is to see my hard work pay off. It's paying off. I'm so damn grateful right now for where my business is and where it's continued to head. But yeah, all of that hard work I put in, all of that time and patience and trust is working out right now. So,
yeah. What's one thing that you want to do right now, but you don't have time for?
Can you give it a little bit more, like?
Yeah. So, you've got the house, you've got the kids. Chao Studio is taken off, but because you're also busy with all these things, what's one thing that you've been wanting to do but you just don't have time for? Like some people are like, I want to be a chef, but I don't have time.
Traveling. I am going to travel. Right now my husband's deployed, so we've actually been talking about, you know what, we've been working our asses off for too long as parents and hardworking people.
Let's take a vacation.
When he gets back, we're going to vacation hard. We're going to travel, and we're going to do all of the things. But yeah, right now I understand that it's not realistic, but I can still travel with my children, just not too far. But I'm ready to go travel with my husband. Yeah.
What destinations do you guys have in mind?
The first place is Hawaii. That place resonates with my soul. When I went there, I fell in love and I felt like I was at home. So that's the first place. And then eventually I want to go visit Laos and Thailand, if I'm able to, depending on, you know, a lot of factors plays into it. But I want to go out there. I want to be embraced in the culture. I love our foods, and I feel like there's so much to learn from my people out there, or just any like Thai or Lao or anybody that lives there. But I just feel called to go there. So, and I don't know where else. I'm going to go wherever my soul calls, you know, wherever the opportunity lies. Because every time I talk to people, it's like, oh, you should go here, you should go there. So we have yet to discover that.
I love that. have you considered completely moving, or are you guys like set, like rooted in your lives in America? Like, have you considered moving the family to Laos or Thailand?
I haven't thought about Laos or Thailand. I haven't thought about it because I know my children, and I feel like that is a very dramatic move. And I don't have family out there. Oh, I do. I do have family out there, but I've never spoken to them. So it's kind of hard to say that I would move that way, but I'm not opposed to moving within maybe the U.S. to where I feel like calls my soul or something like that. We were actually talking about maybe going back to the West Coast, because like I said,
California.
Yes, I feel like my style of work has that West Coast flair to it, so I feel like it would be much more appreciated out there. Not that it's not appreciated out here, but I'm saying,
It's okay.
it's okay. But yeah, just I feel like the West Coast is calling me back home for just a bit. I don't know if I want to live out there forever, but we'll see. We'll see what the art scene is out like there if we do head back that way.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd ever want to move back to San Diego, but if I had to move back, I guess I'd move back to, actually, I don't know. I think I'd want to move to maybe San Francisco. Maybe to give big city a try.
Yeah.
Like I've never, granted, like I've when I was medically deployed to New York during the height of COVID, I was like living in Queens for a while, and that was fun.
That it was a busy?
It was, surprisingly, even though COVID was still a thing, this is when the restrictions were getting much better. Or I'm sorry, were easing off a little bit. But the streets were still pretty packed. So I can't imagine how much more packed it would be if it didn't have if COVID was not a thing. But moving to San Francisco, I remember when I was I never moved to San Francisco. Visiting San Francisco, I remember looking back, and there's always just a line of people walking behind me. So
I love San Francisco. That was our go-to place for family weekend trips. But the hills are ridiculous. But it's a beautiful place for food and culture, and just it's a fun place to be. I can't imagine myself living there. I cannot deal with the hills for the life of me. I get so scared when I drive there. But it is a beautiful place. So that would be awesome if you do find yourself living there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. We'll see where the company goes. We'll see where life takes me. But I wanted to ask if you had any last-minute questions. I think we've hit around closing time or so. Are we still good on time, Just?
Oh, we're like hour 20.
Hour 20? Wow. You were actually going to be our longest podcast.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's also like the back and forth like candor.
Yeah.
But yeah, you will be our longest podcast.
Sorry if I'm long with my answers.
No, not at all. I mean, I think that this is what we're going for, This is I'm glad that you were our first guest to help us break in this podcast studio. So it means a lot.
I'm honored to be here. Like I said, prior to us coming into this room, I felt like you were the one that is supposed to interview me and put my story out there. So I'm honored. I am truly honored.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I'm honored that you could come on as a guest. But yeah, I wanted to ask if you had any closing thoughts or any closing questions that you might have.
I can't think of anything. I feel like you've been awesome this whole entire time. I mean, do you have any questions for me? I mean, last minute questions?
I would say if you could give any life advice to the young women that might be in the same position that you were in when it came to your childhood, or even now, like life advice to young women and young men now.
So I am a huge believer that representation matters, especially as being Asian American and parents who are immigrants. Um, the best advice that I can give is to remember to see yourself, to always discover yourself. Don't get lost in life too much. Always stay curious. And even if you feel like you're out of place sometimes, which a lot of us do feel like, know that you're not alone. And that when you share your story and just be who you are authentically, you've already lived your purpose. But yeah, that's the best advice I can think of right now.
Well, it means a lot. Actually, but before we leave, you said you had a gift for me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see it.
So I got you a little gift. You can open it and see it.
Hey, yo. Did you make this?
I did. So I
Goodness.
made everything from the handles to the entire shape of it, everything. The colors.
Yeah, this is such a beautiful mug. That
Thank you.
tea time, coffee time. I'm throwing away all the mugs that I have. I'm only using this one. This is gorgeous.
I didn't realize how sacred a mug is. Like, it plays in our everyday role. We wake up with it, like we drink our coffee. That's the first thing that we are greeted by, and yeah, mugs are sacred. So
I love it. Where did you get the how did you get the blue on here?
so I don't know. Are you familiar with pottery?
Not at all.
No.
Not at all.
So the clay, that's the actual clay body color that you see, the beige part right there, the white off-white. And I took color, it's called underglaze, and I mixed it with a soapy concoction or like mixture, and I blew bubbles on there. Yeah.
What was it? Okay.
So I got, like I
All
said,
right.
my inner child comes to play all the time with pottery. I was like, ooh, I'm going to do bubbles. So
I love it so much. Thank you so much.
yeah, no,
Thank
thank you
you.
for having me.
Well, I would say that's a phenomenal place to stop. I got a gift, and hopefully that you had a good time and that.
I had a wonderful time. It was a great time.
Thank you so much, guys. This is Auxano. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Ariannah, for this beautiful mug. It is by Ariannah Chaochang of Chao Studios.
My
Thank you so
pleasure.
much.